Everybody. So, this next few sessions, we're going to be talking about, make sure everybody's okay with this, sexual issues and sexuality. But to do that, we've got to back up a little bit because we've gotten several questions, and many over the years, about somebody's being inappropriate. Someone is sexually inappropriate, somebody's sexually intense. I'm not feeling this way about somebody anymore, and I don't know how to let them know in a way that's not hurtful or harmful. So there's lots of things that could come up, and we want to talk about in terms of adult people who have urges and preferences and likes and dislikes and changing emotions and changing physicality. And we have places where we do things and places where we don't do things. We have times when we do things, we have times when we don't. We have people we do things with and people we don't do things. And we also have situations in which we might, but given the bigger picture around us, no, not really. Or maybe when we get a cue from the other person, unacceptable, then we go, oh, okay, well, yeah. And so this is not an easy situation to sort of bring up and talk about. And yet it's real and it happens a fair amount because human beings are human beings. And it turns out that human beings crave and need touch. I mean, it's just part of who we are. But here's the thing, being able to touch another human being is very different than being touched by a human being. We have different sensory receptors, we have different sensory preferences, behaviors. And so, one of the places that we like to make touch happen is in our hands. We want to touch things, we want to check things out with our hands. And if we like them with our hands, we might want to bring them closer to our face. There are different sensors. We have a lot more on our face and around our mouths, but the tips of your hands and your hands are incredibly sensitive. So touching and feeling things is part of a sensory experience. So is having things in and around your mouth. And so if I had pleasurable experiences around my hands and my mouth, then if I'm feeling a little depleted and I see something I like and I start to reach for it, well, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm being sexual. It could be I have a sensory unmet need and I'm being sensory engaged. And so I want to engage with you sensory wise. So we want to make sure that what we're seeing and what we think we're seeing is accurate. So if I come toward you and I lean in, well, I'd have to drop my camera down a little bit more. There you go. And I lean in like this, and I'm close within arm's reach, and my face is up high. So let's drop this down. And I'm in this range and I'm leaning in. What may stand out to you is what's in this part of my body, not what's in this part of my body, because you're sitting, my standing. But it's also because I'm right in front of you. If I were to turn my body sideways to you and I were to offer my hand to you, well, you may or may not take it, but that way I at least, and you know what I'm offering. I mean, I'm not offering this part of me to be touched. I actually was talking to you, but if you have limited visual regard and you're in a seat, it may be difficult for you to pick your head up and look up. So sometimes it's really basic things that we're missing. Well, then let's pick up on social cues. If my life experience is not a lot of people come up to me and try to help me change clothing or take clothing off. As a matter of fact, it's so rare that the only time that somebody else tries to take my clothing off in my adult history is when it's time to be intimate with another person. So you trying to get my clothing off may trigger in my damaged brain the idea that, okay, well, isn't this interesting? And I think we're about to have a very intimate encounter. And so my next strategy is, okay, if it's okay with me, I'll start taking your clothes off. Because, well, it looks like we're two mutually consenting individuals. And then when you tell me no, well, if enough of my primitive brain has been engaged with excitement and this idea that it's going to happen, I may not be able to pull back, hear that whoa, and respect it. I mean, we have plenty of ways in which we know that that happens just in general culture. And to think somebody with a damaged, dying brain is going to be able to go, oh, yeah, I got your cue. Okay, let me back up. I mean, it's possible, but it's also very possible it won't happen. And what we didn't realize is we actually offered social cues that signaled to the person that was what was going to happen. A third possibility is that somebody is socially isolated. I mean, they're not getting a lot of physical contact. It's not happening. So when someone moves into their space, there's a lot of seeking and touching just because, oh, look, another person. Let me explore them. Let me figure them out. Much as small children come into other people's spaces and start touching things and stroking things and holding things and messing with things and fiddling with things. And it could be clothing, but the clothing is covering a body. And so it may actually be an interesting exploration. So I want us to be super clear that sometimes what's happening is not at all sexual. Sometimes it is, but I want us to get better at describing what it is we're noticing and what we think is going on. And then we want to be careful that we aren't assigning blame to the individual. If something is going on and we're close enough for that touching, well, we've got to figure that out. And we will over these next few sessions. Now, if we do have an intimate relationship with a person, let's say I'm a spouse, then things get a little bit mucky here because what might be happening, the other person's desire for intimacy may be still there, but my interest in intimacy may be dropping because of my changing role, how I'm actually turning into more of somebody who provides support and care than somebody who feels like they're in an equal marital relationship. And if someone has certain types of dementia, like frontal temporal dementia, like a frontal lobe variant and a frontal behavioral variant, particularly, it could be that one of the triggers is anytime I get excited, my brain misinterprets. So that means maybe if I'm male, when I need to go to the bathroom, suddenly I think I'm all excited. And in fact, I just need to go to the bathroom. And maybe when I go to the bathroom, when I touch myself to do that, well, that may elicit another trigger for me. Or it could be seeing somebody in a pajama outfit, or maybe a nightgown might trigger something. Or maybe you being alone with me in a bedroom could trigger it. So we have to be thinking, wow, beyond what we typically think of dementia. Well, people living with, no, that's fairly inaccurate. What we do want to realize when things are starting to happen, we want to take a pause and get support, get help, conversation, talk it through, figure it out. We want to come up with strategies. We don't want to let things happen repeatedly and get more and more, what are we going to do? But we also want to recognize, wow, okay, so something seems to be missing and there's communication going on. I would also say that sometimes words can be tricky. So if somebody says they want to do something, and this is the R, well, I'm going to keep it. I think it's just R. I want to F you. I want to do that. We want to be thoughtful. Is that actually I seek intimacy or I like being with you and I don't have a whole lot of language? Could it be I want to know how intimate you want to get? It's really a question. Could it be I'm really angry? I'm really frustrated. And so we're hearing that because people use it in lots of different ways. Do you want to have sex with me? Good question. Let's check it out. But what we don't want to do is allow ourselves to be alarmed, to allow our amygdala to guide us. Because when an amygdala is turned on, we're either feeling frightened, angry, sad, trapped, abandoned, or we don't know what to do. We have no purpose. Well, we got to figure this out because the other person is saying something to us that makes us uncomfortable, or in some cases might even be painful to hear. We want to figure out what are we going to do about that? And if I'm hearing those words, probably moving into touching space right now, unless I know what my strategies are moving in, are probably not a good idea. So today, I just wanted to bring up the whole wide array of things that could be happening. And I think all too often, we think we know the answer when we haven't even figured out the right questions. So today, getting it started, think about maybe 5 S's. Could this be a seeking a sensory experience? Could this be a misinterpretation of social cues? Could this be an expression of sexual need and sexual like and sensual want? Could it be an idea of social isolation? Or could it truly be somebody who thinks they need something to survive? And as a person on the other side of the equation, I've got to get curious about all this before I get judgmental. Or I might not be the right person to be trying to figure this out alone. So, till next time, we will be talking further. And I will tell you, it'll be several sessions because there's several different kinds of questions that come up and have come in. So, take care of yourselves and take care with your care. Till next time, take care, everybody.